So you're interested about learning how to house hack your way to financial independence? Well, this video is for you. So I recently had the pleasure of speaking with Nathan Hesselman. Now, Nathan is a fellow YouTuber and runs a channel by the name of Simple Solutions. Nathan currently lives in Germany, but is originally from the Seattle area. And he has achieved something quite remarkable. Nathan achieved financial independence early in his 20s through house hacking and home remodeling, and he's even ended up selling a home for over $1 million. Nathan's story is really inspiring, to say the least, and I'm really grateful to him for the opportunity to connect and for him in sharing his financial independence journey. So during our chat, Nathan explained a lot of really good resources that I think will be applicable to you, including blogs and books and other things as well in terms of things to look out for, things to become aware of. Before we get into the video, please remember to like the video and subscribe to Roundup Saved. If you have any questions at all, leave a comment down below.
So you're based in Berlin. I think when we spoke a year ago, you were in Berlin, but I think you were staying at a different house.
I was based in Seattle. So I was based in Seattle last year. When we last spoke, I was here though. I was in Berlin.
Okay.
I just got here because that was that cohort 3? Or
yeah,
2?
cohort 3.
3? Okay, yeah.
I think it was 3.
Yeah, so then I had just gotten to Berlin. So I am in a new place now, which we've been remodeling. This was a 100-year-old garage, just a garage. Wow. And we tore it all apart and had no windows, had no doors or anything. It just had big barn doors on the front, big wooden barn doors. And now we got a bunch of windows, glass doors, put this kitchen in
looks beautiful.
A month or 2 ago. Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy with it. And now remodeling that bathroom, had to add all the plumbing and everything, and it's getting forward, but I'm sick of it. I'm ready to be done.
You're just I just want to live in the house. I don't want to build the house.
Yeah, exactly. But it's fun. It's a fun thing. I'm actually making a video about it, hopefully once I finish. Nice. But yeah.
So has it been you and your wife together working on it, or?
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, nice. And there was some new stuff that I didn't know, so we hired some contractors to jackhammer the holes in the wall for the windows and for the doors, because it's a concrete stone old building, and I had never worked on stone before, so I learned a lot in the process. But yeah, it's been cool. It's a pain in the butt. Stone's really easy to work with, and it's so messy and such a pain, because it's really easy because you can just smash into it or drill into it, and then you just fill it in with cement after, so it's you don't have to be as accurate, but it gets everything messy and dusty, and I'm tired of living in the house.
Yeah. That's cool. So 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom?
It was a garage, so right now it's a big open space, I guess. It's just a big open space in this room, which is the kitchen. Over there is the living room, and then back behind here is a loft style bedroom right now. And then through that door where I sent you the video of there's the bathroom, there's another room that's an office, and then a front room that I'm not finished remodeling yet that will end up being the master bedroom. So it'll end up being 2 bedrooms with an office and 1 bath. Nice. And it's fairly big. I mean, it's a tiny house, but for a tiny house, it's fairly big. It's probably 1,300 square feet or something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah, it's nice. Just a really big old garage, and it's awesome because it's got 14-foot tall ceilings, which makes it feel way bigger. Oh,
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm 6'2", so that's one thing I need. We're in my fiance and I were staying in Washington D.C. just for 5 weeks. So we've been here for 3 weeks already, and I guess in DC, it's very common to live in English basements. So basically, you're just in an old house and you're just in like literally apartments will just be like the basement, and I'm pretty much like touching the ceiling, and I'm like I need a higher like.
Feel like you're in a little hobbit house then.
Yeah, like we live in Durham, North Carolina, and we had just moved there I think when we spoke, and
cool.
We have like high ceilings and we have a loft and stuff. So
I've heard North Carolina is beautiful, but I've never been.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's expanding quite a bit. Like a lot of tech companies are kind of moving down to that Research Triangle, like Raleigh Durham area. But yeah, like in terms of hiking, you know, there's a lot of options. Like Asheville, North Carolina, if you've heard of that area, it's like 3 hours away from where we are, which is there. It's up in the mountains and stuff, so it's super nice.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. So you've been busy doing the remodeling stuff.
Yeah.
What else have you been up to these days? I mean, I saw you've been back on YouTube after a bit of a hiatus, right? So
just back. The last few weeks. Yeah. I got this place like livable. I got the kitchen finished, and then this whole loft area which is separate from the other side is done. So I was like, this is good. That's basically all I've been doing is working on like getting to know Germany, living in Germany, and then remodeling, and that just like took all my time.
Nice.
So now I'm done. At least I'm not done. I'm close enough to that I can start doing YouTube again. I'm hoping to be completely finished in like 2 weeks with this remodel.
Oh wow, including the master bedroom too.
Yeah, because it's pretty much done. I did all the electrical, the walls are painted, new ceiling. It just needs a new floor, which I am just waiting to do the floor until I'm finished with the bathroom, because I keep like walking through there with like dirty cement on my shoes and everything to like remodel the bathroom. So I'm waiting until the bathroom is finished, which should be done this weekend. And then I will rip the floor out of the office and the master bedroom and put new floors in, and probably do that next week. So fingers crossed, like nice. 2 weeks, unless I hit a snag.
Yeah. So I think if I heard you correctly in the beginning, you said that you've remodeled a couple of other houses. So
yep.
What's how many have you done, and like where, I guess?
I think like 5.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it's one of the things that really helped me reach FI was I bought my first house when I was 19, and I just saved up. Like I luckily I discovered the whole FI thing when I was like 18. I don't even know if I found, like, Mr. Money Mustache was the first resource that I think I found. And I found that probably when I was like 18 or so, or maybe 19. But I was already set and like working. I was just working at a cable company, actually, for Comcast. And I was making like $14 an hour, and was one of the installers, and would go out there and fix people's cable and everything. And I had just graduated high school. I was still living at home, and my parents, they had started charging me $500 a month rent when I turned 18, like, which was like 4 months before I graduated. So I was paying $500 a month to live at home, and I was wow. Screw this, I'm getting out of here like as fast as I can. And because I ate a lot, like I'm a big guy and like ate a lot, and my parents were like, you're 18 now, you have to start paying rent. My parents were pretty strict, like growing up, and like really conservative too. So like I was paying a lot of money to live there, and they had like really strict rules. Like I had to be home by 10, couldn't hang out with girls, like just like super strict. So I was like, I'm getting out of here. So I started working, got a job, and just started saving money as fast as I could. And it was about a year later, right when I turned 19, I had basically saved like all my money other than what I was paying in rent. And then I think I had like 19,000 or something, 20,000 roughly saved up, and I found a foreclosure. and qualified for like a down payment for that, which was like 12 or 13,000 because it was like first time home buyers loan. And I got my first house when I was 19 for, I think it was, bought it for 130,000 with like 12 or $13,000 down payment. And that was it. It was a short sale, actually, not a foreclosure. So it was a short sale. And yeah, I was excited. Moved in there. Didn't need too much work, which was great. It was pretty great shape and everything. And I was stoked and excited. I got a roommate and started charging them to live there. So then my mortgage was cheaper. And that was like the first house hacking thing I ever did. And then after 6 months or 8 months, I moved out of there and moved in with a different friend who was renting a house, and he had like a pool house in his backyard. And it was just like a tiny little shed essentially, but like fairly nice. It had its own bathroom in it. And so then, and it was a nice house that he was renting. So I stayed out in the pool house, paid $500 in rent, and I rented out my whole house up there to like a young family that, and then so I became a landlord when I was 19, or I might have been just turning 20 then, and became a landlord to this family. And then they were like, how much they were paying me was $500 extra over my mortgage and expenses. So I was making $500
in your pocket.
Yeah. And that's what I used to pay the $500 rent at the other place. And that's when I started living for free. Yeah. So I started living for free like a year or so after I moved out of my parents' place. And then I just continued to live for free ever since, basically. I just always house hacked and moved from one place to another, of buying a place, moving into it, getting 4 friends to move into it as well, each of them paying like $500 so it would cover the mortgage. I'd be living for free. I'd do all the work and remodel the place, and then I'd sell the house and then buy a new one, and we would all move to that one. And I just had a group of friends that tended to kind of follow me and move in with me whenever I would buy a place, and they got cheap rent, and I got roommates that paid me and covered my mortgage while I remodeled and then sold the house. So
that is incredible. Like that is really incredible, because I'm only now, like, me and my fiance are like, yeah, we should get a house where we can rent. You were doing this at 19, man. I mean, that's crazy. Were you like a little afraid initially when you had to, kind of buy your first house? Like, if I were going back, and when I was 19, I don't see myself ever being. I had no idea what a mortgage was like.
Yeah.
So what was that experience like?
I was a weirdo, I guess. I wasn't. So if I look back on it, obviously now it's like rosy colored glasses. I can't tell you if I was probably really nervous. I remember being nervous each time I bought a house, like the night of, or when the offer got accepted. I was like, because every time the house got more expensive and more expensive, like I would buy, each time I would make money, so then I had more money to buy a more expensive house. And I was nervous each time, but I also wasn't that nervous because I don't know. I've never been nervous buying a house because I always thought, well, I can live in it. So it's like, I need a place to live anyway. If I know what the mortgage is going to be, I always was meticulous of like running the numbers and having a spreadsheet to make sure what the mortgage cost would be, and if I could cover that by like getting roommates to live there. And I would always run that very conservatively, that I would know like, okay, this is a nice room and I could charge probably $600 because it was Seattle. Seattle's an expensive area. So I would be like, oh, I could charge like $600 a month for renting out this room, or I could rent it to a friend for like $400, and I know someone will rent it for $400. So if I can do it like $200 under market value, then I know I'll always be able to find someone. And then I also just had the thought that like, well, if I don't like it, I can just sell the house. And I don't know. Like, I was always confident that if like worst case scenario, I could live there and make it work, or I could sell it if I didn't like it and get my money back, or at least 99% of my money. And oftentimes I would only search for houses that I thought were a good deal. So like the second I bought it, I could probably resell it 2 weeks later and make a little bit of money. But I would usually hold them for 2 years, because after 2 years, you don't have to pay any capital gains tax.
I didn't know that. So you basically, for each of these homes, you were like doing remodeling, value of the homes are increasing as you're living in it. And then, like you said, you were kind of like home hacking. So you basically ended up living for free.
Yep.
Wow. It seems simple, but I'm sure it was like very complicated.
It's super simple. It's amazing.
Okay.
I highly recommend it. You should do it. So there's this amazing thing. If you don't want to do it to like get financially independent, there's another really cool thing that people can do with it. And just to buy a house outright with no mortgage, and have that house mortgage free after, let's see, 6 years or 8 years about. And what you do is you buy a house, like a cheaper fixer-upper house, fix it up, and then after 2 years of living there, you sell it, and the profit you take from that, you buy a different house, same process. And every 2 years when you're selling this house and making a profit, you don't have to pay any taxes on that. So it's like it's the only way to just get this huge amount of money tax-free, which is like great. It's like such a savings. And if you do that like 3 or 4 times, the amount of money that you build up to when you sell that house the 3rd or 4th time should be enough money to then just go and buy a house all cash and save it and have that house. And it's a fantastic method. It can take having a 30-year mortgage and paying it off over 30 years, or you can do this a few times over like 8 years. And at the end of 8 years, you can have a house completely paid off, which is pretty cool.
Where did you learn this stuff? Were there like certain books? I mean, I'm sure, you mentioned Mr. Money Mustache. But yeah, were there like key books that you kind of read, or even people that you
there's
came
a
across?
bunch. There's a guy named Coach Carlson, I believe. He does real estate investing. He has a website or blog. It's really detailed on real estate investing. Mr. Money Mustache. There's a guy called the Mad Fientist.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, his is fantastic. There's Richmond Savers, I think, is another fire blog. There's a whole bunch of them, and I can't even remember because it was like so long ago, but I consumed all of those. I was reading all the books, all the blogs and articles about different methods and ways to do this. And I was just all in.
Yeah. Was it now that you look back on it, was it worth it?
Yes.
All these silly questions.
No.
Yes and no.
No.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
okay.
I would do things different, but you can only say that like looking back in hindsight, like, oh, this was worth it and this wasn't. Overall, a resounding yes. I wouldn't have been able to be in a relationship with my wife, for example, if I hadn't done that, because she's never really worked, because she lived in Germany, just graduated college, or was still in college when we met, and then was just graduating like a month later, and then moved to America. And then because of the visa process, wasn't able to work there because she was waiting forever for her green card. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But so
I know all about it.
Yeah, it takes forever. And then she was unable to work, and I was her host sponsor for that. And then we moved back here. And that was last year. So essentially our whole relationship, I've been supporting her and able to fly her over to visit me and fly her over when we first met and everything. And that just wouldn't have been possible. Our relationship wouldn't have been possible if I didn't have the financial means to do that. So a resounding yes, it was worth it. But then at the same time, I think the whole drive for it in the first place really came from a place of fear and not feeling like I had enough, and like trying to fill a hole inside me that was missing. And I don't think money or status or any of those things can fill that hole. But I also think a lot of people, maybe I wouldn't have found that out if I hadn't tried to do that in the first place. So I think overall it's great, but it doesn't make you any different of a person. I feel like it didn't make me any different of a person. For a long time, I had more stress about money the more money I had. Like when I had $10,000 in the bank, I had high levels of stress, which is what incentivized me to save so much. I had money anxiety and was always worried I wouldn't have enough. And then when I had $100,000 in the bank, it was more. I just had more stress. I wasn't at my goal yet. I was like always trying to save. I was really cheap for a lot of years and not super generous. And so there's those aspects. I lost some friends because I was like super cheap and didn't want to do things back then. But I think I would have done it all again, just slightly different.
Slightly different in what sense?
First, I would have started, I guess house flipping and those sort of things is entrepreneurial in a sense, but I would have started trying to actually do side hustles and put my work out into the world earlier. It says we're running out of time in 10 minutes.
I had a feeling that happened.
Yeah, I'll have to give you a call right back when it ends. But so I sorry, I lost my train of thought.
You were saying like trying other side hustles, putting yourself out in other means as well.
Exactly, because a lot of my friends who have become millionaires and multimillionaires, all of them did it through starting a business. And I didn't start a business. I did it the other way. But I think they have large reoccurring revenue and things like that from their businesses. And I think starting a business is hard, but the upside potential is really high. Where I think like house hacking and the fire way is like anyone can do it. Anyone. You can reach financial independence in 10 years with almost any job in the US. People can choose to cut increase their savings rate, cut their expenses, and house hack, do some different things to get their savings rate up to close to 50%. And what I think the numbers work out that if you have a 50% saving rate, it takes 9 years to become financially independent.
Assuming your cost of living either stays the same or you tone it down.
Exactly. Based off that 50% savings rate. So if you're saving 50% to end up making the amount of money that it takes to live off of 50% takes like 8 years or 9 years, somewhere in there. Which is cool. I think that's really cool. I liked the math behind that, but I think to be like wildly successful, starting a business, running a side business, doing those things, I wish I would have started on that sooner, but now I got time.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing of because like I'm kind of I think we're around the same age. I think you just turned 30 recently, right? From Correct. Your most recent video.
Yep.
Happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
So I'm 28, and I I'm kind of the mindset like I'd love to start a business one day. But I also feel that being in that position, like when you say wildly successful, that can be defined in so many ways, and even having large recurring revenue, it's all about your costs and your overhead at the end of the day too.
Yeah.
And I feel being, like you just said, being in a position where you are financially independent, you have the ability now to take risk. Like you could go out and start a business and probably,
Yep.
So I think it's, I think it, cause like, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I feel people are like, oh, I'm going to go start a business, but the end goal is something not just with the business, it's like to satisfy a feeling that people don't quite know or they can't explain it.
Yeah.
But I think like I've also been reading like on the Mad Scientist blog, for when people do hit FI, there is that same feeling you expressed of like, it wasn't just about hitting FI, it's about something bigger. And there's like new stresses that come.
Yeah, for sure.
What was that like kind of after you hit FI and post FI life?
Well, it's weird because the goalpost moves. That's the thing. And so lifestyle creep is the one thing that you want to avoid, right? Like avoid just having more money and then increasing your cost of living. But the other thing is that the goalpost just moves. Like when I first set out for what I would want to hit FI, I was single. So that number was lower. And then I like hit that number. And then I was like, oh, well now I'm in a relationship and we're going to get married. So then I was stressed and I was like, I have to earn more money. So like my FI number, I had essentially like just hit when I met my wife. And then I was like, oh, well, now we're going to get married. Now I have to work hard. Yeah. So then I spent the next few years trying to reach a different FI number. And then we're about out of, well, let me see. Never mind. We still got a few minutes. So then I was like, I have to hit a higher number now for us to be FI. So then as soon as I hit that, but now we might want to have children. So then I'm like, oh no. So it's the goalpost moves. And I think that's hard, but I think that also comes down to, I have anxiety about money, which I think most people who actually do like the FIRE movement and have the drive to do it, 95% of them have anxiety about money, and that's why they have the drive and do all the stuff to because sometimes it's a little bit crazy. But that's got way better, but it only got better. It had nothing to do with any dollar amount or any success. It had zero to do with that. The correlation is zero. Like there's almost no correlation with how much money someone has and their relationship with money. And so only in the last year or maybe 2 years, I started working on my relationship with money and my anxiety around it. And then that just like, it just helped. It's a night and day difference. An awesome podcast for that was the Ramit Sethi, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Have you read his book?
I haven't, but many friends have told me to read it, and I'm definitely familiar with the title and him.
Yeah, so I almost fundamentally like disagreed with everything he said and didn't like his book and didn't like his podcast. And then once I started to work on my relationship with money, I really enjoyed his podcast and listening to people who had like $20 million net worths who were super cheap and had anxiety about money and wouldn't spend on buying an appetizer or whatever. And I was like, I don't want to be that type of person. I want to be generous with I want to be generous in general and be able to give my time, help out friends. Like I have a friend in London and I just flew him out here and grabbed his ticket so he could come for the weekend. Like I want to be able to do those types of things. And I wasn't like that before. And it was like listening to that I knew I always wanted to be that way, but I just had a hard time letting go, I guess, and had a lot of stress about money.
Yeah.
I hope you found this interview useful, and thank you again to Nathan for the opportunity to connect. If you have any questions at all, feel free to leave a comment down below. And don't forget to check out Nathan's channel, Simple Solutions, which I will link down below. All right, guys, thanks again and take care. We'll see you in the next one.